3,567. 3,567 hearts, all beating for a purpose.
We serve an incredible God.
3,567 sets of lungs, all breathing the same air. 3,567 different people, all changed by the same story. 16 crowds, all crowding to hear the good news. 16 gatherings, all gathering to see just what the Lord can do. 16 communities, all singing the same songs. 16 campuses, all experiencing the same thing. One church, one aim, one way, Jesus, united.
Hey, kind of crazy, but a week from right now, we're all gonna be in Flagstaff together partying. Can we do that? A week from right this second, we're gonna be hanging out together, and it's crazy. I watch that bumper and I get excited. I'm gonna change it a little bit. That bumper said like 3,500. We're actually officially, there are 3,817 high school students going to camp with us this year, which is crazy. It's the most we have ever taken as a church. And this may shock you, but when that many people from all over the city get in one spot, it would be very easy for us to become disjointed. It'd be very, very easy for us to start like creating little pockets and separate from each other. And we really want to be intentional about making sure this year we value being united. And last week, Dustin talked about what it would be to be united. He talked about it being vulnerable and giving trust and opening up a little bit. And I think as I process united or being unified, I think conceptually I can get behind being unified. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love the idea of that. Like, yeah, of course, I'd love to be unified with everybody. But practically, being united is way harder. Being united is easy when you like someone. It becomes way harder when all of a sudden it's like the weird person over there that you're supposed to be united with. And so what we're gonna do today is I'm just gonna try to be as practical as possible, and we're just gonna hyper-focus on camp. We're gonna hyper-focus on ways practically that we can be united at camp. And I'm a big fan of acrostics, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an acrostic, because everybody loves those, right? Come on, yeah. Clap for acrostics, woo! Yeah! Yeah, so I spent lots of time this week honing in on these letters to make sure that it's catchy, that it's memorable, that it spells the right word. And so we're gonna just get right into it. The first word, the U, it stands for supper time. Okay, so it stands for supper time. And it's important. Oh, you thought I was going to use the actual letters? I'm going to do that. All right, something that happens at camp all the time is meals. We eat, y'all remember 2 years ago when the food was terrible? Anybody here 2 years ago? Hey, we fixed the food. It's much better. I don't want to undervalue how important it is at camp for you to make an effort to eat with your group. I think it's so easy to just think you're gonna get there when you get there, but I think it's so valuable that you make an effort to sit down and eat together. There's actually tons of research that talks about families that eat together, their anxiety levels are lower. The chances of like long-term depression are lower, their self-esteem is higher. It matters when you sit together and you share food together. And this isn't that important, but I'm just gonna say, some of you, like, it might be worth it to eat some green stuff sometimes, like 1 or 2 days. And if you choose not to, just make sure you bring good toilet paper to camp, because The toilet paper there is not good. Do you know this, right? It's not ideal. This is like from Costco 2-ply. If I were you, I'd buy this. It's valuable. An easy hack for staying united with your group this year at camp is to value your meals. Get there, save a table, sit there. And I would just say this, don't just eat food, ask good questions. Listen, be available. If you see someone sitting by themselves, like bring them in, it's important. So meals, stay united, eat together, supper time, it's a big deal. The second one is this, the N, we do a thing at camp. This year, it's gonna be called the Survivor Games, where there's big points that you can win, your colors matter. And I think this is really important. In order for us to stay unified, I think you really need to care about winning. I think it's important. You need to care about winning, and I don't wanna motivate you to win. Instead, I found a coach on the internet that is gonna give you a pep talk. Give it up.
Our goals, no, not even close. Our goals are, listen. Our goals are to hit dingers. Everybody better have their eyes on me. Eyes on me, Rylan. Hit dingers. Disgrace the pitcher's family. Make the other players cry and stomp their butts into the ground. Does everyone understand that? Does everybody understand that?
It looks like
Look, fellas, look. There are two types of people in this world. There's two types of people in this world. There's winners and there's losers. And just so that we're clear, every time we step on this field, our goal is to be a winner. And if your dad has said, oh, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, just as long as you have fun, well, I hate to say it, your dad's a loser. Okay? So let's get our hands in. That team's pretty good, but we are gooder. So let's go gooder on 3. Let's go gooder on 3. Here we go. Hands in. Hands in. Hands in. Come on, talk to your English teacher here. Gooder on 3. 1, 2, 3. Gooder!
Listen, care about winning. Seriously, care about winning. It's important. And I know what you're thinking. Some of you are thinking, well, I don't have the skill sets to help our team win. That's fair. That sometimes is the case. So what I would do is I would change this letter to this. If you are not the person that's going to actively help win, can I just do this? Can you just make sure that you can be a fan? Can you be a fan of your team? When I was in high school, I went to a really small high school. There was like 600 people in my high school. And I made the front page of our local paper. No big deal. Here, I'll give you a zoomed in look so you see if you can figure it out. See if we can do that. Let's see if you, you can't see that, so ignore that one. Just go, okay, just kidding. Zoom way in. Who's got the camera? Zoom way, up. One of these people is me. See this guy with fake glasses like an idiot? That's me. This is a front page news article of me and my friends cheering our high school girls basketball team in the playoffs. And below this is important. This headline, I thought this was cool. It says, is it the end of the minivan? This is from 2006. New wave station wagons are driving off with the minivans market. Not sure they won that argument, but minivans are back. I love minivans. Here's what I think you need to know. I've learned this from sports betting recently. You care way more about games if you actually have stakes in the game. There's an entire market dedicated to sports betting just to get people to care about games they shouldn't care about. You want to have fun during the Survivor Games? You want to care about what's happening? Be the biggest fan you can be. Show up and cheer your team on. Care about your team winning. Talk trash, tasteful trash, to the other team. Get in their face, tastefully. Get excited. I just remember being in high school, and when you're in high school, there isn't that much to do. Granted, I went to a really small school. But the most fun thing to do is just to show up and cheer for your random sports at your high school. And I don't care, I don't care if we win, but I'm there to support. I'm there to get behind my team. And I think that you caring about the team that you're a part of can spur you to be united and can probably help you be friends with someone you didn't know you wanted to be friends with. You ever been to a sport, like a big game, and you randomly, like your team hits a shot at the end and you hug this stranger that's next to you? Ever done that? There's something about watching together something awesome happen and you cheering for it that just brings people together. And I hope that you do that. So, hey, care about your meal times, supper time, be a fan of what's going on. This next one is I actually use the I. All right, it's this one. This is invite people in. Invite people in. There is tons of free time at camp. And you've all been here. You've all been the solo person at camp, wandering. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and we go to like the pool, and she desperately wants to play with other like 8-year-old kids. And her tactic is she just like starts swimming closer to them. Do you do this? Maybe if I just get close enough, they will invite me to play. And that is what you do too. You do the same thing. When you go to a volleyball game, also you're just kind of like getting closer, like you just kind of closer, and you're just hoping. You're hoping that someone playing notices you and says, hey, come be a part of what we're doing. Come jump in. There's a story in the Bible about Zacchaeus, and my favorite part of that story is Jesus is walking, and it says that he looked up in a tree and saw this dude. I think it's fascinating that Jesus, the person who has places to be, has things to do, had his head on a swivel, noticed people around him, and took time out of his day to allow them to show up and bring them in. Can I ask you to be a noticer? Can I ask you, I know you have your small group and it's easy to become super cliquey with them, but when you're hanging out and you're doing nothing and you're just sitting around a table and you're playing a card game, or you're playing volleyball, or you're playing cornhole, can we be students that have their eyes up? Because we've all been on the other end of that. We've all desperately wanted to be invited in, and there's nothing that makes you feel better than when someone finally is like, yo, come play with us. Come hang out, come sit with us. Be that for someone else. Help us stay united at camp. Let's invite people in. This next one, this is the T. This is a stretch. All right, here we go. Just bear with me. The T is this. It's respect granted there's 2 T's in there. Okay, whistle. Respect the whistle. There's a T in whistle. It's crazy. Here's what I mean by this. You have a coach. Right now, wherever you're at, I want you to give your coach a bear hug. Just really awkward. Just pile on him. Make it happen. Make it as awkward as possible. Someone do it. Someone stand up. Go tackle them. It's not weird unless you think it's weird. Just commit to it. If you don't want to give them a hug, just like headlock, knee punch. Just make it happen. Paul writes this in Hebrews. It says this, remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. Here's what I want to say to you. For us, going to camp for a week is cake because we have nothing going on. It's the summer. I know you know this, but have you processed that your coach, I would be willing to bet that almost all of your coaches took a week of vacation to hang out with you. Like people that maybe they have a job, they work an actual job, and they get 3 weeks of vacation. That might even be a lot. Some of them might get less than that. And they used a whole week of that to hang out with you. And I know that y'all are thinking, my coach, like, is your coach perfect? No. Is your coach going to annoy you sometimes? Yes. But if you want your week to go smooth, can you just be the person that like shows up when they ask you to show up? Like, seriously. And I'm going to say this honestly to y'all. Like, some of you suck. Like, you know who you are, right? Like, some of you suck. Like, you don't go anywhere you're supposed to go. You ignore everybody all the time. And give it a go. Like, try not sucking for 5 days. That's all I'm going to ask you. Just like, that's my motto to you. Like, give it a go. Show up when your coach asks you to show up. Be someone who listens. There is something for you at camp, and it would be worth it if you listened to your coach. They matter. Respect the whistle. Help us stay united. Help us stay united. This next one is this. It's read the room. Read the room. At camp, we do sessions, and for a lot of us, sessions are the coolest part of camp. We have a chance to win some points. For a lot of us, like, worship is our highlight of camp. We get to be in that room together with like almost 4,000 people worshiping God together, and it's incredible, it's tremendous. Hopefully there are communicators at camp that speak to you directly. The reason we do camp, as much as we love the games and the fun and the volleyball, like, we do it because Jesus shows up. We do it because the Spirit is present. And as much effort and energy as we put into camp and the sessions, I guarantee you, I hope this isn't the case, but I'm willing to guarantee that there's going to be something that happens in a session that, like, you didn't love. Maybe you didn't like a song. Maybe you didn't like a video. Maybe you don't like the communicator, like they're not into what he's doing. And can I just ask you to be someone that realizes that even if you don't like something, other people might? And ask you boldly, like, read the room. Don't be the 7th grade kid that, like, yells things out during stuff. Don't be that kid. If you got to take a quick little snooze in the morning session, just make sure you're not snoring. Don't distract the person next to you. You know what I'm saying? Just tasteful sleeping. Read the room. We want to allow other people in the space to get something out of what's happening. I love this verse. This is in Philippians. Paul writes this in Philippians 2:3. He says this, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you should look not to your own interests, but also to the interest of others. There's going to be stuff at camp that is not your jam. And I would say that the best way that I could see Jesus in your life is someone that still is participating and caring and in being engaged in something that isn't your jam. Read the room. Allow other people to experience what's going on. Don't make it about you. You're not the center of what is going on. The last thing is this. Dustin talked a lot about this last week, but I want us to be unafraid. I think camp has the potential to be potentially like the best week of your life. And a lot of it has to do with your attitude towards your small group time. And I think in order to stay united, Dustin mentioned this last week, we have to be willing to be vulnerable and share what's actually going on. I try to get my feelings a little bit. I'm up here today, and I'm like walking around, and I notice I have this like massive zit on my neck. See this? Oof. Sucks. And so I'm like backstage, like trying, and then that's worse, right? You know, but you can't not try to do it. But when I have acne that shows up, it triggers something in me. It takes me back to my junior year in high school, sophomore year going into junior year. All of a sudden, my body started to be like getting covered in acne, and it was on my chest and my shoulders and my back. And man, high school is hard, right? And I remember going into my sophomore year, my favorite thing to do in the summer, for a lot of you, was to swim. My favorite thing to do. And going into my sophomore year, I just stopped. Because I was terrified to go to a place where I'd have to take my shirt off. And people would see that I have this acne that I couldn't figure out. I was doing all this stuff. I was taking Accutane, which is the most crazy stuff you can take for it. And here's what I think. I just think so many of us, the real us, we put inside of a box. The thoughts we have, the fears we have, the insecurities that we're dealing with. And we put it inside this box, and we can make this box however we want it to look. And we're going to work really hard that people only think we are the outside of the box. And I did everything in my power to not let anybody know that I was dealing with this severe anxiety about going places. And I'm my best friends that I hung out with didn't know that this was going on. Because I just buried it. Because I was afraid. I was afraid if they knew the real me, if they knew the fear I had, if they knew the shame I had, if they knew the guilt I had, they would reject me. I know the reality is this. The reality is that we're so afraid to share, but I would tell you that almost every single time, letting someone in, being vulnerable enough to share what you're dealing with, people don't reject you for that. Often they're way more likely to welcome you in. Corinthians 12:9 says this is Paul. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in my weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Some of y'all are working so hard to hide the real you. And my prayer for you, my prayer for this church, for this student ministry, is that this week of camp, we can be unafraid. We can be bold enough to share. And to allow Jesus to show up and allow our friends to bring us in. That's how we can stay united. Every week together, we take communion. And we take communion all the time, and most of the time we forget what it's just a thing that we do. But communion is a chance for us weekly to reunite ourselves, to remind ourselves why we are here, to be inspired by what Jesus did for us. And in a second, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take communion. And while you're taking communion, the band's going to play. And when you feel ready, you can stand up and sing with them at your campus. But as we take communion and remember what Jesus did for us on the cross, I'm going to ask you to think about the place at camp that you're going to have the hardest time being united. Is it during meals? Is it during the games, the free time? Is it respecting your coach? Is it in the session or is it in group time? Where is that for you? As we take communion together, can I just ask that you pray that you can be emboldened enough to work to stay united? We're excited for what Jesus is going to do next week. Let me pray for y'all. Dear Jesus, thank you for what you are doing in this space. Lord, I'm just going to pray for a second for those of us that are here across the valley that aren't going to camp, and just pray that they feel like they're a part of this too. I pray that those of us who are going work extra hard to invite those that aren't in. When we get back from camp and we hang out, we're jumping in a pool, you invite them to be a part of what's going on. Remind me to be bold. Remind me to be vulnerable. Thank you for the grace that you give us. We love you, Jesus, in your name.